I don't like Millenia. And before you tell me to play better or get good or call me a big dumb baby, let me go change my diaper first. Malenia is quite possibly the most famous and infamous boss in From Software history. Not only is the lore surrounding her incredibly deep and enriching, but that's affected in the gameplay as well. Malenia has killed millions of players across the globe, and there are very good reasons as to why. She's commonly considered the hardest boss in Elden Ring, if not the whole FromSoft Soulsborne Sekiring franchise. And honestly, I'd probably have to agree. That could very well change with the recently revealed DLC, which claims to have a boss on par as her, but we'll see. Now, let me say that I'm not new to this franchise. I've been playing it constantly for the past 8 years since Dark Souls 3 came out. I've beaten Dark Souls 1, 2, and Bloodborne at least 3 times over each. I've platinumed Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, and Elden Ring. Dark Souls 3 was the hardest to platinum. So I think it's safe to say that I have just a little bit of experience with these games. So when I heard Malenia was hard, I was up for the challenge, but of course, you already know how that went. Oh my god. What the fuck was that? See, I was recently playing through Elden Ring doing an HP only run, where I can only level up my HP, and I got to Malenia, and something inside of me just kinda clicked. I was chatting with my friends about Elden Ring a few days prior, and we each made a list of our top 10 favorite bosses in the game. I was really shocked when they both had her at number 2, seeing as she wasn't even near my top 20, never mind my top 10. So that really threw me for a loop. Like, don't get me wrong, I totally understand why they had her so high, but I didn't know why I had so much trouble enjoying the fight. Now, with the run I was doing, I dealt not a lot of damage, which could askew my perspective had I not also beaten Dark Souls 3 at level 1.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Which is even harder than leveling just HP. In that run, I couldn't level anything, so not only do I die in a hit or two, I also hit like a wet noodle. Playing through Dark Souls 3 like that was so rewarding because it required me to fully master a boss in order to beat them. I'll talk more about this further into the video, but just know that I'm not unfamiliar with being underpowered. Let's bring this video back into focus, shall we? Malenia, Blade of Mikola, Goddess of Rot, and one of my least favorite bosses in Elden Ring. Before this turns into a full-on hate train, let me take a second to tell you the things I like about the boss, seeing as there is quite a bit. Firstly, this applies to all bosses in Elden Ring, but I love how Malenia is balanced according to the lore. And when you introduce yourself by saying, I have never known defeat, I know I'm in for an ass whooping. Most of Malenia's kit I think is really, really good. Most of it. I think her attacks are hard to learn, but once you do, you can start to feel a real ebb and flow to the fight. Specifically in the first phase. She gets faster in phase 2, but don't get it twisted. Phase 1 is still where you will find out if you can get past her skill wall. Malenia's fighting style makes her flow like water, which can be really annoying to fight against. Most spells are straight up useless against her because it turns out she has a dodge button too. Not to mention long combos that can be hard to predict with quick windups and devastating damage. Granted, she's an endgame boss who's quite literally the most out-of-the-way boss in the whole game. First, you gotta grab a secret half of a medallion from this invisible guy in an abandoned optional village underneath a cliff. Then you gotta play through 70% of the game and go to this other optional fort and beat the tough boss where you get the second half. Then after the secret elevator is a short little catacomb, then after that is an entirely new area that you can't really see through, but just trust me, you gotta keep going because we're like halfway there. So after the blizzard, you gotta go to Invisible Assassin Puzzle Town and light 4 lanterns, which will take you to another optional area, the Halig Tree. After making your way through the branches and the platforms below, you'll finally get to a different boss, so after that you gotta do the last really long, really hard optional area to get to the very bottom of the tree where you can finally fight the optional boss you wanted so damn much. And your reward is death. Lots of death. And yes, this is still the parts that I like. So Millenia is brutal, and I love her for that. One move in particular, which is beginning to dip into the dislike pool, so be warned, is everyone's favorite Waterfowl Dance. The attack where she does 3 massive AoEs that proc damage a lot of times, with a lightning quick windup and no discrepancy on how close you need to be for this. She will start this move on top of your head, and all you have time to do is stand there and say, "Oh, for fuck's sakes," before the shredder gets you. Oh my fucking god. Now, while this is easily her most deadly attack and can be quite bullshit, I still wouldn't say this is what makes me fully dislike her. Sure, the attack is responsible for 85% of my deaths against her, and sure, yeah, it's really hard to avoid, but it can be done. Not by me, but by somebody, I'm sure. When this game came out, someone made their entire online character around being able to solo her, so it's not impossible. And bosses in these games have always had crazy one-hit attacks that are bullshit. Granted, those ones are definitely less frequent than this one. But it's not unheard of to have an attack like this. Do I think they made it a bit too strong? Yeah, probably. But, I mean, if you want her to be the strongest character in the lore, I can't really blame you for that. However, there is one thing about Millenia I can blame. One thing about her kit that is so bad that it actively makes me dislike and disappreciate this otherwise great boss. And that, my friends, is the heal. You see, it's not enough that Millenia is lightning fast with insane damage, short windups, quick combos, devastating nukes, and inflicts the deadliest status condition in the game, but she heals too. Now, Millenia is actually the first of her kind in this way, not because she heals, but in how she does it. Lots of bosses over the saga have heals, many in this game do. Look at Moog in the Ancestor Spirit. However, there's always a little asterisk next to that heal. This boss can heal, but it's only when it uses a certain move. This boss can heal, but it's just once the whole fight. This boss heals, but it's a really long windup that I can use to either go in for damage or use to step back and heal for myself. There's always something you as a player can do while the heal is going off to make it feel like you have more control over how much the boss can actually restore. With Millenia, that's not the case. In case you didn't know, Millenia heals every time she hits you. Every single time, without any way to nullify it or weaken it, all the time, any day, day or night, whatever build, every single time she hits you, she heals for free, just cuz. In case you've been paying attention, you'll notice that Millenia attacks a lot. Lightning fast movements, quick combos with little windup. Every little nick and slash harms you, duh, but it also harms you and actively makes the fight harder. Because now you have to hit her an extra 2 or 3 times every time she touches you. Combined with the Waterfowl, which is not only a really quick, deadly triple AoE that hunts you down like fucking prey, but every AoE procs multiple hits, meaning she heals multiple times. I swear, Malenia can heal like 10% of her max health in one move easy. This doesn't go away through the fight or start off weak and get stronger as you go on. It happens the whole time for both phases. That's right, you have to fight through 2 health bars of this. Sure, she starts off the second phase below full health, but if only there was some easy, uber consistent way for her to get that health back. You can't nullify it with an item or a spell either, like with Vikard Amelia's heal in Bloodborne. This shit just happens. Fighting her feels endless because I have absolutely no security in how I'm doing against her. In my Dark Souls 3 level 1 playthrough of old, the consistent strategy I used to beat my vastly stronger opponents was just by getting little hits in, going for one hit, maybe two at a time, because I couldn't afford to get too greedy. It was slow, but it was progress. And I knew that every hit mattered because eventually it would lead to a dead boss with enough time and enough playing well. I was secure in knowing how close I was to beating them because it always felt like I was moving towards a static goal. And that security is what made it so fun to get better at the game that I love. Malenia stabs, slices, runs over, boils, and pisses on that security. Because she heals every time she hits you, trading blows all in favor of that extra hit in the long run is useless, pointless, and actively harmful. You want to go for one hit? That's fine. So will she if you don't perfectly dodge her attacks. It's not even the fact that she does heal. I mean, with such an outstanding rest of her kit, sure, why not? Let's pile on the agony. That's fine. But it's the fact that she does it completely different from everything else that we've seen before. And I don't even know why. I don't even think there's a lore reason for it. After defeating her, you can use her Great Rune, which is great because it makes you heal just like she does. Except you don't. You don't heal like Millenia because frankly, no one heals like Millenia. How you heal is almost identical to the Bloodborne Ryley system, where you can heal back damage you've taken if you attack and deal damage of your own in a short time afterward. This mechanic is a lot of fun and encourages a more aggressive playstyle, and honestly, I really like this kind of healing. So why doesn't Millenia have it? I mean, it makes sense, it's what her Great Rune already does. If you give Malenia the Bloodborne healing system, it makes her fight a lot more engaging. She'll heal a lot less, but she'll still heal. She's attacking me all the time anyways. I'm positive she will find openings to heal like that. I feel like that system would be so unique to her and make sense in the context of her Great Rune. And just be a more creative solution than, yeah, she just heals, man. Boo! That's boring and uncreative and exists solely for the reason to make her seem really hard. The Ryley system, in my opinion, is just better in every way. The player gets to see what that mechanic is when fighting her, which is a great introduction and makes you already familiar with that mechanic when you get the Great Rune. It makes her more fun to fight against because you don't have to worry about losing 3 minutes of progress because she comboed you a few times back to back. I can feel security in that as I fight the boss, I'm actually getting closer to winning, and not just in an endless fucking cycle, hitting her a few times and then getting waterfowled into me drinking 2 flasks and watching Malenia drink 2 as well. It feels like chasing an ever-moving goal because you literally are. With most boss heals, it's something to look out for, you know? Something to think about when it happens. With Malenia, the heal is something that wraps around the entire fight, plaguing it in a thick, shadowy smog. You can't escape the heal. It's everywhere, all the time, the whole time, and she just does it, don't worry about it. It introduces an entirely new mechanic into the game just for her, just because. It's this heal that genuinely, and I don't say this lightly, ruins the fight for me. It's not the 2 phases, it's not the Scarlet Rot, it's not even the Waterfowl Dance. It's the fact that no matter what I do to her, I know in the back of my mind there is a chance much greater than 0 that she'll undo all of my progress just cause she can. There's no lore reason, there's no in-game reason, it's not her Great Rune, it's not her sword, so why does she heal like this? It's actually driving me a bit crazy because as hard as I try, I genuinely just don't get it. The only reasonable explanation I can make is that she does it just to be hard. She does it because that makes the fight more difficult. That's it. If you have a good reason to why she specifically has to heal like this, then I am begging you to tell me in the comments because I'm just at a loss, man. If anyone can make a good, solid case as to why Millenia should heal on every single attack, regardless of when she last took damage, then I'll pin the comment below, but honestly, good luck. Millenia is a good, sometimes great boss for 80% of the time. Unfortunately, that other 20% where she's healing after, one more time, say it with me, every single attack just completely ruins the whole experience for me. If you like Millenia, that's great. I know lots of people do, but at the end of the day, I play these games for challenge, yes, but mostly for fun. And because of Millenia's constant, relentless, unforgiving heal, I simply don't have fun fighting her. And sure, you can say it's a skill issue. It probably is. But there's an important difference between requiring skill and demanding perfection. Every other boss in this game requires skill, but you can still burn through 14 health flasks and still have a solid chance of winning the fight. Millenia doesn't directly demand perfection, but she's about as close to it as you can get. The fact is, the more times you mess up, the less likely you are to win, and that just feels bad. Anyways, I feel like I'm rambling, so I'll leave it at this. Do you think Millenia would be better if she didn't heal on every hit and instead used the Bloodborne system? Or do you think that she'd be the same? Am I a huge whiny baby for not liking her, or was my take actually reasonable? Let me know what you think down below. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my good buddy Ryley for editing this. He's an absolute peach. Mwah! All of his links are in the description. And yeah, I'm gonna go play Elden Ring and not fight Millenia. Take care.